Your dog has a bed. You bought it, you placed it. You may have even spent more on it than makes sense for an object a dog is going to ignore. And yet, here they are, every night, circling your mattress, pressing against your legs, arranging themselves across exactly the portion of the bed that would be most useful to you. Most people assume it's warmth, maybe a habit. Maybe they're just a little needy. But what behavioral neuroscience has found about why dogs sleep the way they sleep, and who they choose to sleep next to, is one of the most striking things researchers have documented about the dog-human relationship. And almost none of it is about temperature. Start with what sleep actually is for a dog. Sleep is the most vulnerable state any animal can enter. Every predator-prey instinct in the mammalian brain is oriented around one problem. Don't get caught unconscious in the wrong place. Wild canids sleep in dens. Hidden, enclosed, defensible. The whole evolutionary logic of where to sleep is built around minimizing exposure during the hours when nothing can protect you. Your dog knows all of this. The instincts are still there. And yet, every night, they walk past every quiet corner in your home, past the couch, past the patch of sunlight on the floor, past the perfectly good bed you bought them. And they climb next to a human 15 times their size. That's not warmth-seeking behavior. That's a choice about safety and who provides it. In the early 2000s, researchers at Eötvös, Lorand University in Budapest adapted a test that developmental psychologists had been using with human infants since the 1970s. Ainsworth's strange situation procedure. It was designed to measure one thing, whether an infant had formed a secure attachment to a caregiver. They ran the same protocol on dogs. The results were not subtle. Dogs formed attachment bonds with their owners that were functionally identical to the bond between a child and its primary caregiver. The same proximity seeking, the same distress at separation, the same specific calm. Not just any calm, that specific calm, when the attachment figure came back. 61% of dogs tested were classified as securely attached. That's almost exactly the proportion found in human toddlers. But it went further than that. The researchers also found that securely attached dogs use their owners as what psychologists call a safe haven, a reference point they return to when something felt uncertain or threatening, and as a secure base, a foundation stable enough that they could explore the world from it. Both of those things. The same dual function that a healthy caregiver serves for a child. So, when your dog chooses to sleep beside you, they are performing the single most fundamental behavior in attachment psychology. They are seeking closeness to their secure base at the moment of greatest vulnerability. That's not clinginess. That's the attachment system, doing exactly what it was built to do. Here's something most owners have never thought to notice. Where your dog positions themselves when they sleep tells you something specific about their attachment state. Dogs that press against the length of your body, spine to spine, or curled against your legs, are engaging in what ethologists call contact sleeping. It's the same behavior observed in wolf packs between individuals who hold close social bonds. It isn't passive, it's a maintained choice. The dog adjusts throughout the night to stay in contact. Dogs that sleep at the foot of the bed, or nearby on the floor, are doing something different but equally deliberate. They're positioning themselves between you and the door, between you and the room. Research on feral dog groups found the same spatial logic. Dogs who were most bonded to a specific individual would orient their sleep position toward that individual, even when not in direct contact. And dogs that sleep across you, on your chest, across your feet, draped over your legs, are displaying what some behavioral researchers have described as a guarding posture adapted for bonded pairs. They are not comfortable despite you being there. They are comfortable because of where you are beneath them. None of this is accidental. Your dog is making a considered calculation every single night about exactly where they need to be. In 2015, a research team at Azabu University in Japan published a study in Science, one of the most selective journals in the world, that documented something that had never been shown before between two different species. They measured oxytocin in 30 dog owner pairs during interaction. Oxytocin is the neurochemical associated with bonding, the same molecule that spikes in a new mother holding her infant for the first time. When a dog gazed at their owner and the owner gazed back, both experienced a simultaneous surge in oxytocin. The dog's levels went up. the owner's levels went up, which made the dog want to gaze more, releasing more oxytocin, which made the owner feel more bonded, which made them gaze back. A self-reinforcing neurochemical loop across two different species. They tested the same interaction with wolves raised by humans. The loop didn't activate. This isn't a general mammal phenomenon. It co-evolved specifically between dogs and humans over thousands of years of living together, and physical contact amplifies it. Just 10 minutes of petting produces measurable drops in cortisol, the stress hormone, in both the dog and the owner. Now, consider what 8 hours of sleeping pressed together does to that baseline. There's a separate finding that adds another layer. A 2019 study measured cortisol levels in 58 dog owner pairs using hair samples, which capture hormonal accumulation over weeks, not just moments. The levels were synchronized: stressed owner, stressed dog; calm owner, calm dog. And when researchers looked at which direction the relationship ran, it was the owner's cortisol predicting the dog's, not the reverse. Your emotional state is getting into your dog's body. And across 8 hours of sleep, pressed together, that signal runs in both directions. Here's a question that changes how you think about tonight. When did dogs and humans start sleeping next to each other? The answer is essentially, from the beginning. Dogs are the only animal domesticated before agriculture, before farming, before cities, before writing. Roughly 15,000 years ago, wolves began approaching human camps, drawn by food scraps and fire. The least fearful among them survived better. Their offspring were less fearful still. Across generations, they became something new. In Germany, archaeologists found a burial site dated to 14,000 years ago. 2 humans interred together, and alongside them, 2 dogs. But one detail changes everything about how you read that scene. One of the dogs had survived severe canine distemper, a disease that kills within 3 months without intensive care. That dog had been nursed through 5 weeks of illness. Someone had kept it alive 14,000 years ago because it mattered to them. These weren't working animals, they were family. And geneticists have since found something that makes all of this less surprising. Domestic dogs carry unique genetic insertions on chromosome 6, in a region associated with extreme sociability and human-directed contact seeking. Wolves don't have them. Dogs were literally shaped at the level of DNA to want to be near us, to follow us, to sleep beside us. Your dog climbing into bed with you isn't a behavior problem. It's 15,000 years of selection doing exactly what it was supposed to. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic ran a study most dog owners don't want to hear the beginning of. They tracked the sleep of 40 adults and their dogs over 7 nights using clinical-grade actigraphy on both. The data was clear. Dogs disrupted humans' sleep, movement, repositioning. The 3 a.m. adjustment that clips your ankle. Objectively, by every sleep metric, the numbers were worse. And yet almost every participant reported feeling more comfortable, more secure, and better rested when their dog was in the room. How? A researcher at Canisius College surveyed nearly 1,000 women and found that dogs were rated as less disruptive than human partners, more comforting, more consistent. A follow-up study used motion trackers to find out why. Owners were waking briefly every time the dog moved, but almost never remembered it in the morning. The physical interruptions were real. The felt experience of safety was stronger, which points at something deeper. The psychological benefit of sleeping beside a trusted presence, a warm, breathing body that your nervous system has cataloged as safe, may matter more to restorative sleep than uninterrupted darkness and silence. We spent almost all of human history sleeping in groups. The isolated solo bedroom is a modern invention, barely a century old in most of the world. For hundreds of thousands of years before that, the safest thing you could do at night was be near something that would wake up if something was wrong. Your dog still does that. They are a lighter sleeper than you. They are more attuned to environmental change than you. When they settle and stay settled, they are, on some level, telling you, nothing out there requires your attention. You can go deeper. Maybe the dog isn't disrupting your sleep. Maybe they're restoring something that modern bedrooms took away. A 2024 study from the University of Jyväskylä in Finland measured heart rate variability, one of the most reliable indicators of autonomic nervous system state, in 30 dog owner pairs across multiple conditions. High heart rate variability means your stress response is quiet. Low means it's running. And what they found was this. Dogs and their owners showed correlated HRV patterns throughout the day. When the owner was calm, the dog was calm. When the owner was stressed, the dog's autonomic state shifted with them. But the synchronization was strongest during one condition: rest. They tested the same measurements between dogs and unfamiliar humans. No synchronization. This only happens within bonded pairs. What that means is that sleeping beside your dog isn't a psychological comfort in the vague sense. It's a neurological event. Two nervous systems from two different species spending 8 hours co-regulating each other. The dog isn't just near you. They are physiologically coupled to you, and you to them. There's a clinical parallel here that rarely gets mentioned outside research contexts. One of the most consistent findings in trauma and anxiety research is that co-regulation, the process of having your nervous system stabilized by proximity to a regulated other, is faster and more durable than self-regulation. Humans do this with each other. Infants do it with caregivers. It's a foundational mechanism. Dogs appear to be doing it with us, every night. Here's something that causes more tension in households than people like to admit. The dog sleeps with one person, not the other. Or the dog used to sleep with you, and now sleeps with your partner, or with your kid. And you've told yourself it doesn't matter. And you've been slightly wrong about that every night since. What the attachment research tells us is that dogs do form primary attachments, not equal attachments to everyone in a household, a primary one. And that primary attachment figure is not always the person who feeds them, or walks them, or has had them the longest. A 2020 study found that the variable most predictive of which household member a dog attached to most strongly was the quality of interaction, not quantity. Dogs oriented toward the person who was most emotionally present during contact, most responsive, most attuned. A person who spends 20 minutes fully present with a dog, on the floor, engaged, responding to what the dog is doing, builds more attachment than someone who spends 3 hours in the same room on their phone. Which means where your dog sleeps is, among other things, a reading of who they feel most seen by. That's either useful information or uncomfortable information, depending on what's been happening in your house. There's one part of this that matters more than the rest. If your dog has slept beside you for months or years, and one night they don't, pay attention. Dogs are creatures of deep behavioral consistency. When an established routine disappears, there's always a reason. Sometimes it's environmental. A new animal, a new person, a shift in your schedule. Something that registers as minor to you can feel like a significant change to them, but sometimes it's physical. Veterinary researchers have found that changes in sleep location are one of the earliest behavioral signals of pain, appearing before limping, before obvious stiffness, before anything you'd point to as a symptom. A dog who stops jumping onto the bed may not have changed their preference. They may be hurting. And this is the only way they can tell you. And in older dogs, disrupted sleep patterns are the primary early marker of canine cognitive dysfunction, the dog equivalent of dementia. It affects an estimated 35% of dogs over the age of 8. The dog that used to settle immediately starts circling, waking in the night, moving to different rooms. What looks like restlessness is often disorientation. Your dog doesn't have language. Behavior is the entire vocabulary they have for telling you something is wrong. A change in where they sleep is a sentence. It's worth reading. So, the next time it's 2 a.m. and you have 6 inches of mattress and 80 pounds of dog pressed against your legs, your dog is not confused about where they're supposed to sleep. They chose you, not the floor, not the couch, not the warm spot by the radiator. You. Because 15,000 years of shared evolution, a neurochemical loop that exists between no other two species on Earth, and an attachment system built to mirror what happens between a parent and a child, all converged on the same answer. You are the safest place in their world, and the science suggests that somewhere in those 8 hours, with two nervous systems quietly regulating each other in the dark, they might be the safest place in yours. If this changed how you see what's happening every night, like subscribe and leave a comment. Where does your dog sleep? And did they choose that, or did you?